All right, it is Tuesday, and joining me behind the table is the wonderful Sara Haines. Hello, Sara.
Hi, Brian.
Let's get right into the big news of the day because
Okay.
this was just very entertaining and concerning, but mostly entertaining for me. It's President Trump's national security officials accidentally sending war plans in a private group chat to the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. What were your initial thoughts when you heard this happen?
I want to say I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked. I mean, this tracks. When I saw all this happen, though, what came to mind was, and you've been on these emails
I have.
with Joy. So there are these strange numbers that are either bots or trolls or something, and they'll write and they'll put a few of us and our real numbers on.
Yeah.
So when I look at the message, it'll say like Brian Teta, Joy Behar, and then it's like 3 unknown numbers.
Yes.
There was a time where Joy once wrote back, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
And you were like, please don't ever reply to those messages. So whenever I see a group, I click on who's in it before I ever reply.
No, I always do too. And I've been in group chats that were included the wrong person.
Yep.
They're a nightmare. And in general, I mean, we always joke about Whoopi, who desperately does not want to be included on any group chat whatsoever. And just no matter how many times I take her off of it, Joy writes back to an old one that includes her again.
She goes to the wrong one. She includes old hosts. She
Old
includes
hosts, yes.
all the time. But this is what I mean. I expect that from Joy Behar. I do not expect that of the cabinet heads of like national security, the CIA, like all the different places that are protecting.
There's 14 and 15 people on here, and you'd think one of them would say, is this the best idea?
Well, and also you see one quiet guy in the corner not answering. Like,
Right.
do you even check your work? Like,
Right.
here of all people, the irony of how this administration feels about the media and specifically this guy from The Atlantic.
Right.
I literally was like, of course it's that guy that makes it on the list. And the good thing about him is he's so aware of the landscape. And this is where I give real journalists credit is he questioned it. And up until the very end, until the play-by-play of the, I guess they don't call them war plans, but the war plans played out, he didn't even believe it. And so he questioned it. He didn't respond. He worried he was being duped.
Right.
None of those people worried about anything.
He also left. So all I can think about is the fact that what everyone's reaction must have been when someone immediately left the chat.
I don't think they even...
But you get a message that says this person left the chat. So that must have been terrifying to them when they
But
realized
did it say his full name?
I think it just said the initials.
Yeah, I think it did too. And I'm sure like the fact that they hadn't noticed, they hadn't questioned, like, should we be discussing this here? And the fact that Jeffrey Goldberg doesn't print anything, which I think... Again, he
Speaks to him.
handled
That's
this
wonderful.
with
Yeah.
such sensitivity, but he gets all of this playing out, and the things he refers to, or is it talked about weapon types, times, locations, beyond just this playing out. There's so much at risk when you're on cell phones. A regular person is scared of who's in their phone because of TikTok and China, and we've all been told that. The fact that they did this on an app on their telephones, and in reading into this, and Alyssa has spoken to these skiff rooms, these highly secure places where it can't even receive a signal. You're not allowed to bring your government device, let alone your personal cell phone,
Right.
because our phones are at such risk. So it's a multitude of missteps and kind of just egregious recklessness. Like,
Are you on Signal?
I'm not on Signal.
Yeah, I am. I got on it because I'm in a celebrity fantasy football league.
I've heard about this because you did pretty well one year.
I've won it.
Or won it.
And I came in second this year. But these are all like impressive people. I'm the least impressive person involved in this by a very large measure. But that was my introduction to Signal, and I felt like I was being led into a clubhouse because then I looked at my contacts, and the only contacts I had that had Signal accounts were all various pretty impressive celebrities.
Right.
So that all I could think about during this was like, imagine I accidentally like let a reporter in here, or I accidentally, or maybe I was accidentally led into one of these things.
Inviting a reporter of all people to fact check.
Antagonistic reporter of all things. It's just fascinating.
The reason I feel better, like at least talking about how reckless this was, is this is already played out. So right now, I don't think it's compromising anyone in the field. But I mean, again, this administration ran on its national security, the way they kind of came after immigrants and how they're essentially saying they're all criminals. We're getting everyone out. We're going to protect our country. They put people on like not a no-fly, but you can't come into the country. Everyone, they're guarding. And then they loosely get on a chat app on their cell phones, which are already infiltrated. Anyone that's ever talked about something and then it shows up for sale on Instagram, your phone's listening to everything you do.
I don't know if you caught this when we walked off the stage a couple minutes ago, but Joy said to me, "You never responded to my text." And I said, "I didn't get one." And then she said, "Yes, you did. You sent it right here." And then she sent another one and it didn't go to my phone. And I said, "Joy, that's not me. Who are you sending these texts to? And how long have you been sending Brian and her phone texts that never went answered?" And I looked, and there were about 15 of them. No answers, and she never gave it a second look. I'm cracking up. She's like, "Well, which account do you want to answer to?" I'm like, "The one that actually sends me the messages, Joy."
And this is why Joy Behar would never be appointed.
Correct.
Like
it could be Brian. It could be Brian
Defense,
Cranston for all I know. I mean, it could be any Brian in the world. It's hysterical. But anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Still, you gotta love it. All right. We talked about the big rallies for AOC and Bernie Sanders yesterday. And let's go into a little bit of what you said that you want to see Dems present actual solutions. Do you think Democrats are just being performative at this point, or do you think that they're actually, or do you feel like a change happening?
So I think, I honestly think that I can relate to when you lose an election, there are consequences. The Democrats are in the minority now. There's a lot of rage. Trump is a unique political figure, possibly the most consequential in our lifetimes, good or bad, like however you want to, I mean, clearly bad for how I feel, but he's most consequential. His very name elicits kind of visceral responses. So I understand people being mad, but there's this conversation we've had multiple days at the table of what does the fight look like? I am just not a fan of like symbolic protest. Like, I'm mad, so I'm going to shake my fist. I'm going to hold up a sign. Democrats, come on, fight back. I'm just way too pragmatic for that. I'm like, well, when you say you're going to fight and you're part of a resistance, now I'm going to ask you next step, what does that mean? Is it a march? Is it a poster? Is it going to a town hall and talk? What is it? I'm glad you're engaged, but I think there's a more productive way to do it. The math is not in your corner. When you're dealing with an administration this fiery, coming at them with your fists up isn't getting anything done. I'm not saying be nice or Pollyanna about this, but you got to find a way to use psychology and be a little more strategic. And that's why the Senator Alyssa Slotkin I love, because she's all about, okay, these people are yelling, but what makes you think the loudest person in the room is fighting the hardest? Because they need to be coalescing around some messaging. They need to be getting on board together. You've got Nancy Pelosi kind of shading Schumer. You've got everyone wanting Schumer out. You've got people highlighting Bernie and AOC, but then you have no like pegged surrogates with the same messaging. You've got people that believe you either get like diplomatic about it or you get up and fight. They're all over the map right now, and I give them pause. We're only a couple months in, which is shocking. Right. So I'm not mad they haven't figured it out. But the idea that fighting means screaming really loud and holding up posters and going to rallies, I just disagree.
Yeah, I get it. I think some people feel like this is all the first step in getting people ready for the next round of elections. And it's just about engaging and keeping a fire brimming. But it's interesting. Right before the show today, there was a poll I stumbled on, and maybe it'll be in the mix for tomorrow's show. It was too late today, but it was a favorability rating in YouGov and The Economist about politicians across the board. And in this, it's interesting because at the very bottom of this was the Democratic Party as a whole was minus 35 in this poll, but only 3 politicians ranked above 0 in favorability. And even was J.B. Pritzker, who's been on our show.
Yep, love him.
All 3 of these are Democrats, actually. At +1 was Alyssa Slotkin.
Love her.
And at +7 was Bernie Sanders, which is fascinating to me. He's really speaking to somebody, to some people right now.
One thing Bernie Sanders does that the Democratic Party does not is he stays on message. Mm-hmm. He has been, since the beginning of his career, a working class person, tax the rich. We saw that the reason Donald Trump keeps winning is he's got these sound bites that, whether they're true or not, he comes after the same causes and he makes it nice and easy. Today, I think, was it today that Sonny was rattling off what the Democratic platform was or something? It was like, or yesterday, it was like 12 things. And what I keep saying is, yes, I understand Democrats are the party of inclusion. They're the party of like defending those who need defending that don't have a voice. But you cannot come out of the gates with 12 talking points.
No.
You got to break it down to like 2 things. And you can be for the other things, but you've got to stand loudly on the other, like repeat it and keep it going.
It's whatever you think of the Trump administration or anything else, make America great again is a catchy phrase, and it encompasses a lot, and it resonated with people, whatever it meant or however it was supposed to mean or not supposed to mean or anything else.
And quiz anyone in this country, like, what is Donald Trump? What did he win the election on? Oh, it was the economy and immigration. What do you think what were the Dems' top 2 issues?
Getting rid of Donald Trump and preserving democracy.
Anti-Trump and the democracy, maybe women's rights and democracy.
Yeah, I think
or
that's
women's
part of it.
rights and I don't know. Was it LGBTQ plus because they were coming after the trans community? You cannot narrow down the fact that even people that lean in those beliefs can't tell you what they are.
So it's a messaging
It's problematic.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right, let's switch gears.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else today. We had some big stars on the show.
Yes.
One of my all-time favorite just personalities, Bill Murray.
Yes.
And Naomi Watts, a huge, wonderful movie star. And the highlight for you, Bing the Great Dane. And this is your friend from Newton, Ohio.
Newton, Ohio?
Iowa.
Oh my gosh,
Sorry.
don't cut that out.
Sorry.
I am from Iowa.
Yes, I know. Believe me, I know.
And for those of you who think that we are close friends, nobody that I'm close friends with would say I'm from Ohio.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So much for the Sarah's Brian's favorite.
Yeah, clearly
narrative.
I'm not.
Yeah.
My name's Sarah, by the way.
Yes,
I
hi.
sit by Whoopi and Joy.
Yes.
Okay.
I know you're from someplace flat.
Iowa. Wrong vowels, dude. Okay, but Bing the dog is from my hometown. And they told me last week the dog is from Newton. That's all they said.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure it's not Newton, Mass?
Right.
Felicia was like, no, Newton, Iowa. Almost at the same time, I start getting messages from people in Newton saying, did you know the dog in the movie from, is coming to your show? The dog is from Newton. I literally just sprawled across their laps and took pictures because we all have friends in common. And there were like 5 of them in the audience and legit from my hometown. I'm just shaking.
So Bing is now the biggest celebrity ever to come
Biggest
from Newton,
celebrity out of
Iowa.
Newton, and I am proud to take second place to that beauty.
That's great. Anyone else famous from Newton?
We've never interviewed someone from Newton, Iowa at the table.
No, that's exciting. How about Newton, Ohio?
I don't think that exists.
No, probably not. Look it up. I bet there's a Newton, Ohio.
There's a Springfield, Ohio.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, we've had many visitors from Newton. We had the whole
With me though.
with you, yes, to fet you. There is a Newton, Ohio. Aha!
Summer, why would you do that to me?
Aha!
I felt that shank in my back.
That's right. That's right. There
I'm
is
not
a Newton,
looking at
Ohio.
you for the rest of the podcast.
Very well. Finally. The audience has been wondering why you keep looking in that direction. Yeah, all right. But that was exciting.
That was cool. Very
and then
cool.
You and I were discussing our favorite Bill Murray movies backstage.
Yes. Well, and I actually forgot. What was the one? What About Bob? I
What
totally
about
forgot.
Bob?
What About
That's
Bob?
definitely a Sara Haines movie. I could tell that.
The amount of movies he's been in, though, it's really hard.
Yeah,
Because I mentioned Scrooge, Groundhog Day,
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Caddyshack for me is a
Oh my
big
God,
one.
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
But honestly,
Kingpin,
What About Bob? I forgot he was in Tootsie.
Yeah,
I don't know
of
why I
course.
blanked on that.
Yeah, no. He's one of the all-time greats, and I got to work with him a lot in my Letterman days, and I was always very intimidated by him. But he's just
But Naomi Watts is also someone I saw 21 Grams when it came out. It's a very depressing
she's a great
movie.
actress.
She is, I would argue, as great as she is, as much attention as she gets, she doesn't get as much as she
I'd agree with
has
that.
earned in performances.
Right.
She is such a talent.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, now let's change from your favorite actors to your favorite child, Sandra.
I don't have a favorite child.
We have evidence to the contrary. I'm just going to say it. I'm
Can
sorry.
you hear my smile? I don't
Yeah.
have a favorite
Yeah.
child.
I mean, these all exist. Your children someday might listen to these.
If you ask my husband and the kids, they'd say it was Caleb because he's like my little mush.
Yeah.
But Sandra is a special unicorn.
Yeah. I mean, I will say for me, it does alter day by day.
It varies. They always say
Yeah.
your parents absolutely have a favorite, but it changes.
Did your parents have a favorite? We've talked about this.
I don't know if I've ever been their favorite.
Right.
Yeah, my dad's favorite is Susan, the one above me. My mom's favorite is probably Kathy, the first.
Yeah.
Joe has dabbled in there.
My dad's favorite's always been my sister. I think I had my mom until
Your sister's my favorite too.
Yeah, I'm aware. And my wife, you're a big fan of. But
Oh, well, she.
Yeah.
She's my favorite Teta.
Yeah, I'm aware. But I think my mom flipped to my sister somewhere in adulthood, and now.
Yeah, but you were an ornery boy.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
all
that
the
ornery.
stories you talk about, like scribbling out grades you were supposed to show your parents and sign, and you knew you'd get caught. It was just a matter of time. What kind of kid like that ranks up there with parents?
All the stories I tell you privately when we're not on the air.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Teta, but I'm sure you've gotten over that D he got.
Yeah, it wasn't, and I didn't scribble it. I hired a printer to make a faux report card. And it was
Worse.
very well done.
You also used to make up horoscopes to hit on girls. Like, you weren't exactly the most straight shooter.
No.
That's not going to appeal to a parent who's trying to raise you right.
Yeah, I don't think they know the horoscope story, but that's fine.
Yeah, they
All
do.
right, let's go back to your favorite daughter, Sandra. You posted a video of her singing Katy Perry's Firework, and it's maybe the cutest thing I've ever seen.
It's so cute.
Let's take a look at it. Were you like this as a child? I kind of feel like you are.
Well, yeah, we used to always perform and joke around, and we were a mess. Like, we'd put on shows all together.
I mean, no shade. She has a better voice than you already. I'm just going to say it.
Okay, she does, but the best part is it's not her voice that I love; it's her passion.
Yeah,
because even the in the
leg
song,
up on the counter is
the leg,
fantastic.
that's a Sarah move right there. But
Yeah.
you know the pata APT,
Yes.
the part where it goes, "Don't you know that you want me?" I come around the corner. Sometimes she's got this, and she's like, "Don't you know that you want me?"
Yeah.
And I said, I love that she understands what she's singing.
I mean,
It's
does
not
she?
the-
Because that's a pretty risque song.
Well, she doesn't understand. She just knows the emotion attached to
Yeah.
whatever she's saying.
Yeah, my 10-year-old
and
loves it
makes
too.
me laugh.
Yeah.
Like, it's so impassioned.
Yes, it is. No, she's dramatic in all the good ways, I
Yeah,
think.
she's dramatic, and I was never dramatic.
No.
I was quiet,
Demure.
demure.
Yeah. Still are, of course.
Yes.
No, my daughters, as you know,
They're trained performers.
they enjoy. Yes, they are trained performers.
Highly trained.
Yes.
How many hours a week are they in class?
An insane
Outside
amount.
of school,
An
but
insane
just-
amount. I actually tried. I went down a rabbit hole to try to figure out what they're doing and how much I'm paying for it.
I
And
guarantee you've paid a college tuition.
everything was shut down when I tried to
Yeah.
find out. Heather's like, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that."
You
And
spend days at recitals.
I do, and variety shows tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But they sing all the time, and they have lovely voices.
They actually have beautiful voices, though.
But I'm starting to crack. I'm not gonna lie anymore. Right now, they're both in Into the Woods.
You married a Broadway, like, obsessive.
Yes.
And then
Who doesn't sing?
She trained them to be
Yes.
Broadway. So you are outnumbered by everyone. You often provide tickets to all these shows, and
I
those
do.
kids and your wife go 5 and 6 times
Yeah, they're very
to
into
the
it.
same show.
They do. They do.
They go when the leads change.
Yeah.
They go when it's the last performance.
Yes.
And you always say, "Oh my gosh," and yet it keeps happening.
It does because I'm weak.
Well, you're not the boss.
No,
That's the thing.
that's the problem. But I'm still your boss. But the at the end of the
Anyone who has to say that over and over, you know the saying, right?
Saturday morning, I finally got to sleep in after a very stressful week.
Yeah.
And I was woken up for no reason by my daughter just belting High School Musical songs for no reason in the middle of the hallway. Just walking down.
You're going to miss this someday.
Someday. I don't know. It's a lot. All right.
Soon.
Speaking of kids, I want to ask you about the Netflix show Adolescence we talked about, which is heartbreaking and difficult to watch. It really shook you and the staff here that watched it. It was all anybody was talking about for a couple days. And it's about a young boy who murders his female classmate and explores the reasons that this could have happened. It goes into those conversations we've had about toxic boys
Yeah.
and men. Why did this show affect you so much?
Well, I think it was so beautifully done, first and foremost, like from how it was shot to how it was written. It wasn't buttoned up perfectly, and it left you with more questions than answers in how does this happen?
Yeah.
And I think that's the complicated reality of life. We all know there was a time where we talked about the equal parts nature, nurture. Kids, there's a lot of what you get in a child and then an adult is born into them. Then there are things that lend themselves to other parts. And in the 4th episode, without giving anything away, the parents are grappling with a lot of the moments that maybe they lost their way with him. And there was so much guilt because it's not their fault. But then there were parts that they say we could have done better. And it just makes you think of how quickly a good kid or, a seemingly your baby can take a turn.
Where do you fall on nature versus nurture? It's an interesting conversation.
So I read, and I've talked about, I misquoted it once on the show 4 years ago. There's a book called The Human Blueprint that's really heady and wonky because it's by a scientist. but it goes into, with stats, which break it down, how much is predetermined by DNA. I would say there's way more.
Quite a bit,
DNA.
I think.
And the way he breaks down nurture, it's not what we thought. We always thought nurture would be what's in the household.
Right.
Nurture is more situational. Like if you're living through a natural disaster or your education, things like that are nurture.
So I'm just endlessly fascinated by twins. I had a good friend in college who we stayed in touch over the years, and he ended up marrying a twin, but he can't stand her twin, her identical twin. I don't understand this. He's madly in love with one and then can't stand identically, basically genetically the exact same person.
Okay,
How is that possible?
I've got a theory.
Go.
So I have been very close with identical twins for a long time. I think he's threatened by the twin.
Ooh.
That's
Explain.
what I would guess. So I'm guessing their DNA is more alike. Identical twins have almost identical DNA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they're basically the same person.
Right, but you have to be a unique person to marry into twins, and everyone that does it knows that, because you are dealing with something that is not like regular people with their siblings.
Right.
These are literally two people that have from womb to life walked next to each other. They think the way they do. They answer the way they do.
Right.
If you hate the twin, it's not about the twin. It's more about your insecurity that twin is probably closer in a different way with your partner.
It's fascinating to me because I've said this, like, and this made him crazy. I would say, like, you realize, like, the only difference is birth order. If the other one had come out first, they would have lived that life. They would have lived the other life, and you would have married the other twin. Doesn't believe that. Gets very upset.
It's tricky because,
Yeah.
I mean, how well do they get along too? Because if it's about personality, you're going to see it in the marriage. But I'm guessing it might be something more creepy than that. Twins reach for each other first. My two identical friends have spouses that are very well aware of what they got into. And when you talk to a twin spouse, they know. And that's fraternal twins, by the way. Already, my best friend now, my adult best friend, is a fraternal twin. Their partners got on board knowing they were with twins. Identical is next level.
Identical is next level.
Yeah.
I want to do experiments. All right, that's all the time we have.
There's like a twin in Ohio, your favorite state. There is a twin convention every year.
I'll send you since you go home and visit your family.
Okay, then I'll drive
Ohio.
to the state
I'm sorry,
from.
Iowa. I usually think
You will
Idaho.
pay for this for days.
All right, my goodness. All
There's
right.
there's a shirt sold in Iowa called Idaho, Ohio. It's so big you'd think it was 3 separate states.
What triggers you more, being told you're from the wrong state or being spelled Sarah with an H?
Sarah with an H.
Yeah, I thought so. I've never done that to you. I want to point that out.
We'll
Not
see.
once.
I love you so much.
All right.
We're friends again.
Thank you for joining me today, Sarah. Tomorrow, I'll be back with the one and only Joy Behar on her proper Wednesday
Joy.
landing spot. And we'll see you then.